So the question is Jesus the name of the Messiah, or is Jesus not the name of the Messiah? Well, some people are insistent that you cannot call him Jesus. You must call him Yeshua, as it would have been done in Aramaic. Anyhow, this is not actually the truth. Yes, Jesus' name in Aramaic is Yeshua. However, the writers of the New Testament chose to use the Greek language, which means in the Greek his name is not Yeshua. His name is Iesus. So Iesus is his name in Greek. That's the name you'll see in the New Testament. So should we be calling him Yeshua, or should we be calling him Iesus? Well, guess what? Names change. And we know for a fact that people in the ancient world usually had multiple names. Like, for example, Jews living in Judea during the Roman Empire, they would have had a Roman name, a Latin-based name, and they would have had their name in Hebrew or Aramaic. We know that ones living in Egypt, they would have had an Egyptian name, a Latin name, and their Hebrew/Aramaic name. So names change as you change languages. Some sounds just can't be said in certain languages, so names change. Now, yes, the letter J did not exist at the time that the Latin Vulgate was written. It was a letter that came about later. So if you go look at the Genevieve Bible, which was before the King James Bible, there's no letter J's in that one because that Bible was written before the letter J existed. Now, the letter J has the J sound like in English, but in Spanish it makes an H sound like a ha sound, and in the German language it makes a ya sound like the letter Y does in English. So in English, Jesus' name is pronounced Jesus rather than Iesus, because that I in Iesus becomes a J in English and has the J sound. Whereas the Iesus is transliterated from the Greek, and the Greek is transliterated from the Aramaic Yeshua. So it doesn't matter which name you use. Jesus knows who you're talking to. Yeshua knows who you're talking to. The name changes with the language, and there's nothing wrong with that. So if you talk to Jesus, Yeshua knows you're talking to him. If you talk to Yeshua, Jesus knows you're talking to him, because Yeshua and Jesus are the exact same person. So if you call on the name of the Lord, and you're going to call on his name in English, you're going to call on Jesus. If you call on the name of the Lord, and you're going to call on his name in Aramaic, then you're going to call on his name as Yeshua, because it's going to vary by language. But as far as having to say Yeshua, or else you're not praying to or acknowledging the Messiah or something like that, or you're not calling him by his correct name, then that's poppycock. That's hogwash. God knows that his name changes as the language changes. So there's no relevance to saying, oh, you have to say it in this ancient language, or else you're saying it wrong. First of all, if you're not a native speaker of that language, then I guarantee you're not saying it correctly. You may think you're saying it correctly, but you're not saying it correctly because you have an accent. And the way things are pronounced changes over time. I guarantee you any modern speaker of Aramaic is not going to be saying it the exact same way it was said in the ancient world in the land of Judea at the time Jesus was walking on the earth. And to top it all off, even if you take people from the exact same area at the exact same time, you have dialect differences. People in the northern region of Judea were not saying Yeshua the exact same way people in the southern region of Judea would have been saying it. So to sit there and get caught up on you have to say Yeshua or else you are not acknowledging the proper Son of God is poppycock. But Jesus does know that when you're talking to Jesus, he knows you're talking to the Messiah, to the Son of God. He knows exactly who you're talking to because, my goodness, the Lord God Almighty is smart enough to know that the way names are said changes with languages. Another example is, in Japan, my name Kevin cannot be said at all whatsoever. There is no way to say Kevin in Japanese. There are two ways to do it. You can transliterate it, and if you transliterate my name into Japanese, it becomes Kevin with a B sound instead of a V sound, because Japanese does not have a V sound. Or you can translate my name into Japanese. My name in English means handsome. So you need to translate and find the word that means handsome in Japanese, and then my name would become that in Japanese. There is no way to say Kevin for a Japanese speaker. It's just impossible. Names necessarily have to change as you change languages.